There's a compassionate way to kill someone who doesn't want to die for an unnecessary reason? Like, do you think we need to eat animal products to live happy and healthy?
Well, animals aren't people. They were produced by God for us to eat. So they're food for people. Some animals are.
Now, do you think that came mostly from conditioning, though? I mean, as a child, we're taught that be nice to the puppy, be nice to the cat, but all these other animals, they're food. They don't deserve to live.
Well, they eat cats in China.
Of course, right? So, and a lot of us frown upon that, right? But in their capacity to suffer, I mean, what's the difference between a cat and, say, a pig or a cow or a chicken?
What's the difference between a bean and a bean? You eat beans?
I do, yeah, they're great for protein.
Yeah, but they want to live too, but you pick them and then you eat them and then they don't get to sprout up into a new plant the next year.
I get what you're saying. So what you're saying is about plant sentience, right?
Well,
but I mean, can we really compare an animal who we know thinks and feels love and fear, compare that to a plant that has no central nervous system? We know they're not sentient. Do you understand, like, the difference?
I know what you're saying,
them?
but you don't understand that trees are equal to humans and trees are equal to cows. Like, just because you think that they don't have the same central nervous system that an animal has, it's got a spirit in it that's the same as grass or the same as a bird. They're all equal in life. Even a tree is more important than a cow if you look at what trees do for everybody, producing oxygen. So you can't try to be prejudiced against plants in favor of animals, but you can sort of be prejudiced in favor of humans against everything else because they weren't given the free agency. Like, trees weren't given free agency, cows weren't given free agency, but they are the first food for humans. If we didn't have any plants or animals, we would die. So the plants and the animals are food sources. Religions give all the bad things that are making people think that they can inhumanely kill animals because they think that Christ was killed so that we can, they even think of God like he's just indispensable. We can just kill God if we want to, so we can get saved and have our sins forgiven.
Yeah,
but we can't even kill God. We aren't allowed to kill anything, really.
Yeah, so I mean, you're saying that you're definitely against animal cruelty, though, right?
Well, I'm against killing animals, but what you have to do is ask the animal if you can kill it for food, and the animal will either tell you yes or no, and then you can kill it. But this is getting into heavy stuff because you don't think an animal can talk or a plant can talk. But if you are talking to the animal in the other world, there's beings that control the animals and the plants, and that's what gives them their instinct. And those are the people you're actually talking to, and they are more like humans. And they can tell whether it's all right to give you the plant. And so it gets into heavy stuff here when you start talking about this. So you can't just go kill anything. You have to ask for permission. So if you're a hunter, you have to ask permission to shoot the deer before you shoot it. And
do you think the animals would give consent to have their lives taken for an unnecessary reason, though?
The animals don't give a damn. They don't even understand what's going on. It's the
But we know that they flee from pain, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So we know that they flee from pain. Of course, right? So I mean,
but they won't flee necessarily if they know that they've given their life to you. Like if I had 2 daughters and myself, and we were caught by ISIS, and he said, I'm going to behead 2 of you. Who wants? No, I'm going to behead 1 of you. Who wants to get beheaded? Well, then I would give myself so my 2 daughters wouldn't have to be beheaded. So I would be giving them the right to kill me, and then I wouldn't probably have the same pain or anything that I would go through if I saw my daughters go through. So their pain, the pain isn't a problem anyways. A lot of people are tortured and everything, and a lot of people go through suffering. Suffering isn't the problem. It's the righteousness of it. It's whether or not you can answer for what's gone on, and it's what it does to God. If he's looking at it happening, it's what he feels. So if he sees you killing an animal out of disrespect just because you're hungry and you really don't need to eat, then it'll hurt him. That's where it all comes down to what it does to God and how it affects him. So if he sees you ask the animal to give its life and that you're hungry, then he'll say, oh, that's great. Go ahead, give your life for this guy that's hungry. he's asked for it. He's got a good reason for it. So then, and God will feel good, and then if God feels good, everything's good.
Okay, yeah, so I know I definitely heard the hypothetical there. So let me throw a hypothetical at you.
Sure.
So if we had an option to either eat plants, which we know don't suffer in the same capacity that an animal does, or to eat that animal and take its life unjustly for something that we don't need to survive, which is the more moral decision there?
I think you should eat them both.
Even if it's unnecessary? Because we know it's not necessary to take an animal's life.
If you're hungry.
But we could eat anything else though, right? We can eat beans, nuts, legumes, lentils, you name it.
Yeah,
so I mean, in the 21st century, it's no longer necessary to eat animals for food or their byproducts.
You shouldn't eat these ones that are inhumanely raised because they're bad for you. But if you can get an organic chicken that's free range and it's had its proper lifespan, and you ask it to give its life, well then you should have no qualms about eating that over a bag of organic beans. But you shouldn't eat inorganic beans, or you shouldn't do anything to poison yourself, because then you're making God feel bad because you're full of poisons and He wants you to be healthy. And so, but as long as the animal is humanely killed and then it's given its life for you, then that makes God feel happy. So it doesn't matter if you have a bag of beans or if you have a squadron of chickens.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, as long as in the long run God is pleased with how it's all working out.
Yeah, and I know you said humanely killed, but how do you, in a sense, humanely kill someone that doesn't want to die when it's unnecessary?
Yeah.
Because, you know, humane is to show compassion. How do you compassionately take someone's life against their will?
Yeah, the best thing is to let them die. I know when Christ first fed Adam and Eve lamb, what happened was the animals just died. Nobody killed them. They just laid down. So there were 7 lambs on the ground. He showed them how to strip it off. This was back 6,000 years ago. And he showed them how to cut them up properly and eat them. And in that case, the animals just gave up their ghosts. But we can't do that as much nowadays. Like we don't have that same power of when we ask animals to give their lives for us. Normally they don't do it right away like that. We've lost our touch with nature. But that's really the way it should be done. In the Garden of Eden and things, that's how it'll be done more. It'll be the animals will be so in touch with us, and the people that they'll be feeding will be so righteous that they'll just say to themselves, and they'll just give up their life, and their life will just leave them. Sort of like when Christ was on the cross, before they killed anybody else that died, He just gave them His life. He just let His spirit go out of His body. And so that would be the ultimate way, but we aren't righteous enough in our present world. Our world is so wicked. It's really hard to find a righteous man that can get the animal just to lay down and die. But that's the ultimate. But in the meantime, we have to work with what we've got. So we've got to ask the animal to die, and then if it says yes, then we help it along, usually with a bow and arrow. We don't use guns in our camp. A bow and arrow, or if you can get the jugular vein with a knife, that's a good way too. But you don't break the blood. And so it's the only way we know anything nowadays, with all the confusion in the world, is there's some that'll talk about it. There's some 4,000-year-old stone tablets that talk about how Adam and Eve and Seth and Enoch and those people, how they operated and got away with killing things righteously.
Of course.
But they didn't eat any more than they needed to, and they were so in tune with nature that they knew which ones to kill at the time. It might be one that was going to die anyways, or something like that. So it's a lot deeper than just saying, "Oh, blanket, don't eat meat," or "blanket, be vegan," or something. It's a lot more complicated than that. It's all about pleasing God. So you have to find out what pleases Him. That's the main thing. But
well,
I appreciate what you're saying, because
Thank you.
This whole world is eating too much meat and they're raising it the wrong way. What we should do is reduce the population of the world by about 90%. And I think that's we should cull the population there. Then we could maybe get back to that righteous state.
Definitely.
Where there'd be more animals than people, and then the few we ask to sacrifice their life, it wouldn't be so bad.